Knowing me, my last words are probably going to be, oops. Hey guys, Dreadjoker here, back again with another Shadowverse video. Today I'm going to go over one of my favorite decks to play on the ladder. We're going to play Last Word Shadow. I'm going to do an in-depth analysis on the deck. Let's get started. Starting with your win condition, Dark Alice, the Foul Fairy Tale. Now Dark Alice, when she comes into play as an amulet for 2, has a countdown of 3, and then every time you play a neutral card, you subtract 1 from the count. Now, when you play her normally, she comes in as a 3/3 with Rush. However, if you play her after your last words count has hit at least 10, she comes in and she evolves. And when she evolves, she is a 5/5 with Storm. So the goal of the deck is to get to your last words count of 10 as fast as possible. And to do that, we loaded the deck with neutral followers that all have last words, such as Aldous, the Stylish Saint. She's a 1/2 neutral follower, so when you play her, Alice's count goes down by 1. And her last words is deal X damage to an opponent's follower and restore Y defense to your life, with X being her attack and Y being her defense. In addition to all this, another one we have is Angel of War. Her stats are reversed. You got a 2/1 with Rush. And Enhance 4, summon an extra Angel of War. That means for 4 costs, you summon an extra copy of Angel of War. Alice sees both of them enter and her count ticks down by 2 instead of just 1. And Angel of War's last words is you put a Fountain of Angels in your hand. Now Fountain of Angels is also a neutral card with last words. It's got countdown 2. On Fanfare, you give one of your followers +1, and then on last words, you draw a card. The +1 can be a difference maker when it comes to clearing boards or finishing off your opponent, but you're really using it for the last words, and the draw is always nice as well. Fountain of Angels isn't the only neutral artifact in the deck. We actually have one in the main deck that's not just a token card. We have Valkyria Lance. During your turn, when the neutral follower is played, you give that follower +1 and Rush. You can combine that with Aldous to make Aldous a 2/2 with Rush in order to clear things off your opponent's board, or just use it to get the last words trigger and accelerate your game plan. And for the last part of the neutral package, we have Twofold Grace. Twofold Grace is a choice card that lets you pick between Amaterasu, Clear Sky Goddess, or Tsukuyomi, the Stormcloud deities. Amaterasu is a 2/2 ward with last words, restore 1 defense to your leader, and give your leader the ability to summon Tsukuyomi 2 turns later. Tsukuyomi, on the other hand, is a little more aggressive and has Rush, but has the effect to summon Amaterasu 2 turns later and deal 1 damage to your opponent instead. And that's it for the neutral package. Now let's get into the Shadowcraft part that takes advantage of this neutral engine. First up, we have Evil Exhumer. Evil Exhumer is a 3-cost 1/1 that plays a random 2-cost or lower neutral follower from your deck. The only 2-cost neutral followers in your deck are Angel of War and Aldous. So you're guaranteed to hit one of your last words cards. And then on Evolve, she becomes a 3/3 that plays another random neutral follower. So you're going to not only play Evil Exhumer and then one other neutral follower, you play a third. So for 1 card and an evolution point, you play 3. Now if you'll remember, Alice is trying to get to 10, so you're a third of the way there with just this 1 card. In addition to this, we have Ruler of the Necropolis, who can accelerate for 1 and destroy one of your followers, and reanimate 2, reviving your previously destroyed neutral followers that cost 2 or less, and give it the last words to draw a card. The last words effect that she gives them doesn't add to Alice's count, but the draw is always nice because you want to be able to draw into all of your pieces. But if you play her as a follower, anytime you play another follower after or while she's on the board, you give it last words, draw. So more often than not, you're going to use Ruler of Necropolis to accelerate your last words count, just in case your opponent doesn't trade into your last words cards. But you can use her as a follower to give some of your non-last words cards last words, and you can use her to draw to get out of some sticky situations. Speaking of sticky situations, that's why we have our Grave Void Knight. He fuses with any of your Shadowcraft cards, and if you have 4 Shadows, Necromancy 4, he'll search your deck for one random Shadowcraft card with last words. They'll be able to tutor out your Alice, your Evil Exhumer, or your Istended. But more on him later. Back to Grave Void Knight. He's a 2/2 with Fanfare, Necromancy 4, gain the ability to evolve for 0. So you can evolve him into a 4/4, and when he evolves, he restores 2 life and deals 4 to an enemy follower. So not only does he tutor out some of the cards that you need, some of your pieces that you're missing, you can also use him to mitigate your opponent's board. That way you can have some staying power and stay in the game. Grave Void Knight also has the ability to turn into Grave Adjudicator, who's a 1/1/7 cost that when a follower is destroyed, he gets +2/+2, and he cannot be destroyed, and he's not affected by other cards' effects, except those that increase or decrease his attack and defense. You don't use this part too often, but it's nice to know about just in case. You never know. Now, one of the other payoffs for getting 10 last words triggers is going to be your Istended Soul Convict. Now, Istended is a very versatile card. Probably my second favorite card in the deck, next to Alice, of course. On Fanfare, if you've had the 10 cards with last words be destroyed, he completely clears the board, yours and your opponent's. So not only can you use him to stop your opponent, you can use him to trigger your last word cards, like your draw effects, your heal effects, your Alice. And so he's a multifaceted card that fits right into the deck and sets up a lot of Alice plays, or keeps you in the game longer so that you can end the game in your terms. He also has last words gain 3 shadows, which you can use to gain shadows to search your deck with Void Knight, and he also has the ability to evolve, become a 4/4, and summon a Skullfish. And Skullfish has Rush, so it's another thing that you can use to mitigate your opponent's board. And on last words, Necromancy 2, he deals 2 damage to the opponent, which could be the difference between finishing off your opponent and not finishing off your opponent. Or you can end up in a situation where you leave Skullfish on the board while your opponent's at 2 defense, and now they have to find a way to remove it without destroying their own game plan. Now, there's also something that's important about Istended, and that's the trait Condemn. He's not the only thing that's condemned to this deck. Abyssal Kernel is also condemned. Abyssal Kernel, like Alice, has Crystallized 2 and comes in as an amulet, but with a countdown of 5, and at last words will summon Abyssal Kernel. He's a 4/6 with Ward and Storms, or storm damage to finish the game off, or ward for defense. And his last words is when he's destroyed, he restored 3 defense and destroy a random enemy follower. So not only do they have to hit over this wall without losing their things, they could potentially lose one of their attackers that they were planning to swing for game with. And it happens pretty often, but it's up to RNG, and RNG doesn't always work in your favor. But the reason why the condemned trait is so important is that we have Asphalt, which is another neutral card and has the condemned trait. But for 2, Asphalt on Fanfare searches a random condemned follower from your deck and adds it to your hand. And if it's at the 8th turn or later, or you have more Evo points than your opponent, its countdown is reduced to 0, and its last words is draw a card. So add 2 cards to your hand, one of which is one of your key pieces, and you trigger one of your last words. I hope you're seeing the trend here. In addition to all the last word draw cards and your Asphalt to search cards, we have Night Terrors. Now, Night Terrors gives -0, -5 to one of your followers to draw 2 cards. It's not only triggering your last words, but it's also helping you get through your deck to find your pieces. And one of the pieces that you could be searching out might be your Prison Apple. Prison Apple is an insane card. Poison Apple lets you select one of your followers, and if it's neutral, draw 2 cards. If it's a Shadowcraft card, last words, summon a copy of this follower. And then If you've had 5 or more last word triggers, you give the card that you targeted Rush and Bane. So not only are you giving yourself a way to remove some of the bigger threats, if you're targeting a Shadowcraft card, you can give it last word, summon a copy of itself, which with Alice, you get to summon another 5/5 with Storm under the right conditions. Or you can use it to summon Abyssal Kernel to get double Abyssal Kernel blocks. It has some other uses here and there, but those are the most notable ones. Speaking of reviving Alice, we have From the Dust Reborn. Reanimate 2, but Enhance 5, Reanimate 7 instead. Reanimate's gonna target the highest cost, closest to 7, which the highest cost is gonna be your Alice. So sometimes you want to use it early on to revive some of your lower cost things to further your triggers, but towards the end of the game you can use it to summon Alice that's been previously destroyed and close the game out. And for closing the game out, you have your Hellfire Strike, deal 2 to the enemy leader, Necromancy 4, deal 2 to all enemy followers. Sometimes this could be the 2 damage you need to close out a game, or it could be a board wipe or something to chip away at something too big for you to just normally swing over. And that there is my last word shadow deck. Look forward to some games that I'm going to upload and some streams that I'm going to have of my ladder climbs using this deck and many more. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, give support for the boy, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.